is the time to stand up now. We can't carry on like this.
A very good evening. These are, every now and then I put out what I make reference to as an emergency transmission. I understand it pisses off certain people, malicious bloggers, council officers, policemen, that sort of ilk, journalists who feel I should not have a right to do this, and that somehow that they are the purveyors of who we listen to, how we listen to, when we listen to, and how we fund. So, yeah, I'm not in the best of moods today. Please bear with me. I've spent a day with my barrister, and it takes time, it takes effort, and it's very draining. And that's me coming off last Friday, spending the full day in court, waiting and failing to testify, and a Sunday evening transmission, and some challenging conversations with a few people who've been in touch with me, wanting to know, wanting to tell me how inconsiderate I am stopping at Christmas. Yeah, mate, you keep your heating and lighting bills paid and put food on the table for your children, and then come back and tell me, oh, in fact, come and do this if you are able to. Oldham Times. Interesting. Royton Medical Centre requires improvement. Sorry, John. I've not set up properly. I am rushing to do this today. Medical Centre requires improvement. The Quality Care Commission rules. Buried away in the Oldham Times by this woman called Olivia Bridge. I'm going to go through the article first, and I'm going to make reference to what's going on here, and a cover up. If you live in Royton, I'll start like this. If you live in Royton, you should be worried. If you're a resident who attends or is a patient at Royton Medical Centre, you should be worried. And the council is complicit forget being complicit in the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of children. It's now putting lives at risk. It is now helping put lives at risk. Amanda Chadderton, the leader of Oldham Council, should be ashamed of herself, as if she wasn't for everything she's done. Clint Piffian, Dave Arnott, Lewis Quiggs, the Conservative cowards, only jump on a bandwagon once someone else has stuck their neck out. Their silence is damning on this. I find it really, really disappointing, and I'll share with you as we get through this. Care Quality Commission inspectors heavily criticised leadership at Royton Medical Practice in their report, saying they did not see evidence leadership could deliver high quality care. Okay, so the Inspectorate for Medical Centres for the NHS inspected Royton Medical Centre and issued a damning report. Broken down into categories, the Chapel Street practice was rated requires improvement in safety and responsiveness, good for its effectiveness and being caring, inadequate, the lowest possible rating for the practice's leadership. So a medical centre's leadership is made reference to as inadequate. Published last week based on an inspection in September. So the council, the authorities in Oldham have known about this for some time. Published last week on an inspection in September. It was the first at Royton Medical Centre's new location. So millions of pounds have been spent on this facility funded for by the taxpayer. It used to be the site of the old Royton Youth Club, so it's sold at a discount rate. We'll get onto that later. When it came to measuring the responsiveness of the service, the report stated the surgery needs to improve, having found complaints were not used to improve the quality of care, which means complaints were ignored. That's what that means. And patient feedback around access was poor. So patients' feedback around access, they couldn't access the doctor service. The judgment comes after patients at the practice have repeatedly told the Oldham Times they face enormous difficulty when it comes to booking a GP appointment. So the council, if they've not just told the Oldham Times, have they? The council, Amanda Chadderton, a Royton councillor, leader of Oldham Council, Clint Piffian, Dave Arnott, Lewis Quigg, the Conservative cowards, have all known about this and sat on their hands, silent, whilst people's lives have been put at risk. Because that's what happens when you don't have access to quality medical care. Your lives are put at risk. And you can see it there, such as the vulnerable and elderly struggle to grapple with the technology required. The GP Patient Survey 2022 placed the practice as one of the worst in the borough when it came to booking an appointment. One of the worst. Nearly 6,000 people's lives are put at risk as a consequence. You can see that. The CQC report reveals it is not effective at obtaining DBS checks, which basically means a rape gang member, a convicted sex offender, could get a job there, because that's what DBS checks are about. It's about making sure people have access to children, have access to vulnerable people, have access to the elderly who are of a fit and proper standard. So this surgery's DBS checks did not follow the correct DBS process in its recruitment procedure. Okay? So the DBS isn't happening. You know, the DBS checks aren't taking place. I always quantify this with my daughter. I take my daughter to the doctors. She's 7. The first time I took her to the doctors, she was 3 years old. Would you want someone who is not sufficiently vetted accessing your child at a medical facility? Well, that's what happened here. And that's not me saying it. That is the Quality Care Commission saying it. It's also found practice nurses are not appropriately authorised to administer medicine. That means they don't know, they're not qualified. They're not authorised. They don't have the right to give them, emergency medicines are not adequately checked, and equipment provided to the GPs in a box needed for the surgery was also found to be ineffective. Frightening is the right word. This report is damning. It's the worst report of this kind I have ever seen. Where is Jim McMahon, the MP, in his condemnation of putting the lives of nearly 6,000 people of Royton at risk? Where is Royton councillor Amanda Chadderton in her statement? Where is her statement giving assurances that the council will do whatever it takes to put this right? Upon further examination, the CQC found 5 medicine reviews had been completed without patients' involvement. Breach of a regulation. Breach. McMahon, this is a breach on your watch, Jim McMahon. The proven Pakistani rape gang enabler now is, and I'll get to why I'm picking on him. You'll see why I'm picking on him and why I feel that his silence is complicit in criminality. If you live in Royton, your lives and the lives of your loved ones, if you're involved in this surgery, have been put at risk. And Amanda Chariton and Jim McMahon and Piffian and all of her Labour colleagues are hiding, and the Tories have got their fingers stuck up their arse. Not knowing what to do. Oh, dickheads. The above amounted to a breach of regulations of the Health and Social Act 2008. The most damning rating comes in the category provided well-led services, where the CQC rated Royton Medical Centre as inadequate. It found leaders were unable to demonstrate that they had the capacity to deliver high-quality care. Not only was it shit and lives had been put at risk, the CQC found that they did not have the faith in the leaders to put it right. The inspector witnessed examples where policies were not being followed, such as DBS checks, but also in areas such as managing events and complaints. Even the website is challenging to navigate. Remember, many of their clients are elderly. They're not computer literate. Needs to improve in key areas. A Royton Medical Centre spokesperson, this is the Oldham Times, involved in the cover-up. Just as they were involved in the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of children, they are now involved in the political cover-up, and I'll show you why, of thousands of people's lives being put at risk in Royton. A Royton Medical Centre spokesperson. Who was that spokesperson? Was it your mum? We welcome the findings of the Care Quality Commission's report. Do you heck welcome the findings? How can you welcome the findings of a report that shows that you've not even followed DBS procedures and potential child abusers could have access to children at a medical centre? Furthermore, we recognise it is typical of a national picture of general practice at a place of post-pandemic and scarce. So it's not their fault. It's not their fault. An unnamed spokesperson wants to blame the Conservative government. Apparently their work is pioneering. Our pioneering work to make sure the homeless receive quality healthcare. Pioneering work to make the... Listen, mate. I want to make sure my mum's all right. I want to make sure my daughter's all right. I want to make sure I'm looked after if I go there. I don't give a fuck about your homelessness work. If it gets in the way of you not checking to see whether your nurses or your doctors are DBS checked and no one's fiddling with my kid. Constructive feedback is worthless unless acted upon. And we can assure the community that issues raised have already been... Lessons have been learned. Lessons have been learnt. And this girl, the reporter from the rape gang partners at the Oldham Times, based in Bolton, Olivia Bridge, digital reporter, doesn't even mention a single name. Well, who is responsible? Who is responsible for Royton Medical Centre? Let's go on their webpage. Meet the team. Meet the team. Dr. T. Chauhan. Dr. T. Chauhan? Yes, brother of Dr. Zahid Chauhan, the Deputy Mayor of Oldham Council. But this is the best bit. Where's Dr. Chauhan's name? in all of this was Dr. Chauhan's name. Hidden. His name has been hidden. You can decide if it's an accident or not. Hidden. You've got to press this. And then you see here, look, at the bottom, Dr. Jahid Chauhan. Hidden away. They've hidden his name. The Deputy Mayor of Oldham Council, the senior Labour Party politician, covered up. His role in this medical practice has been covered up, hidden away. No wonder the Oldham Times didn't mention who runs this medical centre. Press his name. GP, managing GP partner. He's the managing GP partner, but the way it's done on this webpage is it's been hidden. Hidden away. The Deputy Mayor from Mirpur, who announced his deputy mayorship from Pakistan, his pioneering work on homelessness, like I care about his pioneering work on homelessness, when the elderly people there have their lives put at risk, when the children there have their lives put at risk. And the Oldham Times article, front page, photograph. This is the photograph. You can see it there. Side picture, again on purpose. I'm very clear it's on purpose, and the reason why it's on purpose is this is the picture that was in the public domain that they now want to hide. Have a look at this picture. Retired Mayor of Oldham, Jennifer Harrison. A proud moment being part of the opening ceremony for the new state-of-the-art Royton Medical Centre. With Jim McMahon MP and Dr. Tariq Chauhan. Well done to one of my consorts, Dr. Councillor Zahid Chauhan, and all the team. And she's with Jahid Chauhan and Shahid Mustaq. There's a samosa nibbling piece of shit. Jim McMahon, MP. There he is with Dr. Chauhan. So where is he now that this report has come out, the worst of its kind in this town, where the lives of people have been put at risk? Chauhan's name hidden away, tucked away somewhere on the webpage where you've got to click on the invisible links to find it. Where is Amanda Chadditon's condemnation of Royton Medical Centre? She is a Royton councillor. Where is Jim McMahon, the MP for Oldham West and Royton? Where is his statement? Where is the reassurance that the people of Royton need? This is another cover-up, and again, the cover-up involves the Oldham Times, the local media, because the local media failed to inform you of these links. Kept it hidden to the point where even though the leadership was deemed to be inadequate, they did not name who that leadership was. Erin Lyons is the editor of the Oldham Times, and do any of you think that was accidental? Does any of you think it was accidental? And where are you, Mandy? Where is Amanda Chadditon? If it's not good enough for my daughter, wasn't it? It's not good enough for the people of Oldham. Well, how is this good enough for the people of Oldham? How is this good enough for the people of Royton? How? A political cover-up. That's what this is. And none of you would have known. If we had not gone digging into this, none of you would have not known. And I'll show you why. I'll show you more. I'll show you more. This is not a new scandal. If you're finding value in this transmission, please like, please share. There's 170 of you watching. If If you have the means, please consider buying me a coffee, financially supporting the work. I understand that the Labour Party and their associates are keenly interested in how much money I apparently earn. Well, I don't earn anywhere near minimum wage, and I'm sure they are rejoicing that these transmissions are due to end at Christmas. I am actively looking for work, so if anyone has any work or knows of any work, I'm quite happy to go and stack shelves somewhere. 3 days of minimum wage will give me more money than I currently earn working over 50 hours a week every day for the last 4 years. And yes, I am annoyed. I'm annoyed how vulnerable people's lives have been put at risk. How our children are at risk as a consequence of this. Completely unnecessary. And I'm annoyed that Amanda Chadderton knew about this, Jim McMahon knew about this, and have remained silent. And they know that the only way any of this becomes public isn't via the Oldham Times, in terms of the political connections, it's via the work I do. And I'm annoyed most of all at myself because I'm unable to continue. This is the Care Quality Commission. You can see overall requires improvement. Well led, you can see the red mark there, inadequate. It's not even safe, it requires improvement. It's not even responsive, it requires improvement. And in terms of well led, the Commission has decided that it's inadequate. Let's have a look at the report. I'll bring it up full screen, you don't need to see my face. And there's some bits in the report I want to show you. And you can look at this yourself, at the report. Remember, Jenny Harrison described this as state of the art. We rated the practice requires improvement for provided responsive services. Complaints were not used to improve the quality of care. Although we could see appointments were available at the time of inspection, patient feedback around access was poor. We rated the practice inadequate for providing well-led services. Leaders could not demonstrate that they had the capacity to deliver high-quality care. So this is Dr. Zahid Chauhan. This is Dr. Zahid Chauhan. He's the leader and his brother. That's who the leaders are. Senior partners, yeah. Most of the staff we asked were not aware they had a freedom to speak up. Guardian. So they couldn't whistleblow, they couldn't speak up. We saw examples of policies being inaccurate and not being followed. We saw examples of systems and processes that were not effective, including the process for requesting DBS checks, the process for checking emergency medicines, and the process to manage significant events and complaints. Their website was difficult to navigate and included incorrect information. We found 2 breaches of regulation. 2 breaches, not one, but 2 breaches of regulation. This is particularly worrying for me. In addition, the provider should work towards improving levels of cervical screening. Cervical screening was below the national standard, well below the national standard, and it's because they didn't have the staff. They didn't hire the staff. From what I can tell from reading this, they didn't even bother hiring the staff. You can see, absolutely appalling. Just an appalling list of failings. Enforcement actions. The process for checking emergency medicines not effective. It's just appalling. The list is extensive and it's appalling. And here is the evidence table. The practice supplied us with their infection prevention and control policy. And I'm just picking one, okay? I'm just picking one. It's riddled with this. This report is riddled with instances like this. This stated that the practice worked in conjunction with South Manchester Clinical Commissioning Group. This was inaccurate. Prior to integrated care boards taking over the functions of CCGs in April 2022, the practice was a member of NHS Oldham. So they didn't even know who. They just copied and pasted, aren't they? At best, they just copied it and pasted it. And that's exactly what it is, mate. That's exactly what it is. It's a business. For Dr. Chauhan and his mates, this isn't their only surgery. The practice told us that emergency medicines were checked monthly, but not at a set date or time. We saw checks were completed during the time the practice had a half-day closure, and others were completed during normal clinic time. So, you know, there's nothing in place. Prior to our inspection, the practice provided us with a beacon GP care, emergency drugs and oxygen protocol that had been issued and approved in November 2021. This stated a weekly check of all emergency drugs must be carried out. The registered manager told us this was an archived protocol and had been provided in error. Do you believe that? So they got caught out, and apparently the protocol was an archived one and had been provided in error. The practice had a system for allocating medical equipment to GPs, but this was not effective. The practice did not have a system to learn and make improvements when things went wrong. So not only was things going wrong, it did not have a system to learn and make improvements when things went wrong. The practice monitored and reviewed safely using information from a variety of partial. There was no system for recording and acting on significant events. No system for recording and acting on significant events. Staff did not understand how to raise concerns and report incidents both internally and externally. This is Dr. Zahid Chauhan, practice, the Deputy Mayor of Oldham Council, who speaks as an authority on medical issues. This is his medical centre. Amanda Chadderton, the leader of the Labour Party, the leader of the council, a Royton councillor, has sat on this and has refused to issue a statement condemning what has took place or providing the reassurance to the members of the public, particularly in Royton, that she will do everything possible. Dave Arnott and Lewis Quigg, the Conservative cowards, are clearly waiting for someone else to do this if they've bothered looking at it at all. Too busy fighting amongst themselves. They don't even know how many number of events were recorded in the last 12 months. Unclear. They don't know how many events required action. Unclear. There was no evidence of learning and dissemination of information. Your lives are at risk. That's what this means. Lives are at risk. Following the inspection, the senior partner, so who's the senior partner? Is it him or his brother? Is it Dr. Chauhan or is it Dr. Chauhan's brother? Told us that learning events came out of complaints. The learning event was the investigation. This was not evident in the documentation we saw or the discussion we had. So basically, this is the Quality Care Commission claiming the senior partner is a liar. That's what that statement means. And not just a liar, but involved in cover-up. Here we go. 3 of the 4 learning events we examined were from complainants, but these were not recorded in the complaints log. That is evidence of a cover-up, not from me, but from the Quality Care Commission. The percentage of persons eligible for cervical cancer screening at a given point in time who were screened adequately within a specialised period. So, okay, there's a target. The target's 80%. They're at 71%. Below the 80% target. And the reason why, you can see it there. Any additional evidence or comments? We asked the practice for the latest cervical screening data. We saw that in September 2022, the unverified data was that 74% of 25 to 49-year-olds and 77% of 50 to 64-year-olds. So the data that they were presented with was unverified. The practice told us, so what they're basically saying, unverified. Can we trust them to tell us the truth on this when they've not been truthful on other matters? The practice told us that they had a plan in place to meet the target and they now had sufficient staff to carry out cervical screening. That's an admission that they did not have the staff. State of the art, Jenny Harrison made reference to it whilst Jim McMahon stood outside, remember? State of the art. This is an appalling report. And that the MP remained silent on this. And the leader of Oldham Council, Amanda Chadderton, Piffian, is it Clint Piffian, has even read this, do you think? How about you, Bashforth? Barrelgate, Mrs. Barrelgate, you're Royton councillors, aren't you? Why are you silent on it, Steve Bashforth? You've got an opinion on everything else. Why are you silent on the lives of people of Royton being put at risk? Negative, tending towards negative. GP per patient survey result. The other less positive results shown above were not included in the action plan, so they ignored what they didn't like hearing. That's correct, Denise. But it's all right. They've got a homeless-friendly charity they're involved in, and the LGBT Foundation. And one of the salaried GPs spoke a language often used by patients. The percentage of respondents to the GP patient survey who responded positively to how easy it was to get through to someone at the GP practice, 14.5%. Just over 1 in 10. Just over 1 in 10. Appalling results. Number of complaints received in the last JC, it says 5 with an asterisk. And the reason for the asterisk is it was difficult to accurately state how many complaints had been made since the practice registered in November 2021 due to the way they were recorded, as in things were not recorded. The practice had recently employed an operations manager. So where was the operations manager at the state-of-the-art launch? Another lie exposed. The senior partner. So who's the senior partner? Is that Dr. Zahid Chauhan? Or is it his brother? Told us that any investigation and learning from complaints was documented on learning events and not in the complaints file. We examined the learning events completed by the practice. None of these correlated with the complaints we saw had been received by the practice since it registered with the CQC in November 2021. The complaints policy do not mention learning events. They're calling him a liar. They are calling the senior partner a liar. I'll continue. If you're new to this, if you live in Royton, you should be concerned. Your health, safety and well-being is at severe risk, particularly if you are a patient of Dr. Zahid Chauhan's surgery, the Royton Medical Centre. His name has been hidden away. On the webpage, there is no reference to his name in the Oldham Times article. One of the most senior politicians in this town, the Deputy Mayor of Oldham Council, is involved in this practice that has been condemned by the Care and Quality Commission. The MP, Jim McMahon, is a close friend and associate of Dr. Zahid Chauhan, so perhaps that has had a bearing on why he has not spoken out on behalf of the people of Royton, who he represents, so much so that the name of his constituency includes the word Royton. How do you feel, Royton? Is this what you want? Is this the type of representation you want? Is this the type of service you want? Where your health and well-being of your children before, and now the elderly and vulnerable in your community, plays second fiddle to the political advancement and relationships within the council and its Labour Party? Is this what you want? Indeed. Indeed, Amanda. And indeed, Amanda, you do deserve better. I'll carry on. There's lots more. There's lots more. There was no evidence of learning from this complaint and no check to see if any further visits had been missed. Well led. This is what the last strand of the Commission's 5 strands rated it as inadequate. Leaders demonstrated they had understood the challenges to quality and sustainability. No. So they failed. They had identified the actions necessary to address these challenges. No. Staff reported that leaders were visible and approachable. Yes. There was a leadership development program including a succession plan. Partial. The main thing, leaders demonstrated that they understood the challenges to quality and sustainability, and the answer was no. So they don't even understand what they were doing wrong, and they weren't capable of fixing what they were doing wrong. The governance arrangements were ineffective. Government structures and systems were not regularly reviewed. You can see that there. Staff were not clear about their roles and responsibilities, and there was no appropriate governance arrangements with third parties. Appalling. Appalling. You can see it there. You can see the DBS thing there. A staff member had been employed for over 18 months and not had a DBS check. That could have been a sex offender. That could have been a convicted child sex offender. Clinicians were not authorized to administer medicine. Emergency medicine checks had not been highlighted. Not available. The practice's infection prevention and control policy made reference to an incorrect clinical commissioning group from a different area. The system of having equipment hotboxes used to ensure GPs had everything they needed for their surgeries was not effective. The boxes we checked did not contain all the required equipment. The significant event policy was not followed, and staff were unclear about the difference between a significant event and a learning event. Patient safety alerts were not always acted on. System for managing complaints was not effective. Eight of the 9 staff we asked told us they were employed by Beacon GP Care, not Royton Medical Care, which is what is registered with the CQC at Chapel Street. So 8 of the 9 staff there claimed they didn't work there. They worked for someone else. And the 9th staff member told them they were employed by an individual no longer connected with the practice. And then it gets dodgy. It's not one company, it's in another. And the registered manager claimed that all the staff were employed by Royton Medical Centre. So who actually employs these people? Who employs these people? They don't even know. The practice did not have clear and effective processes for managing risks, issues and performance. You can see it there. There was no effective arrangements for identifying, managing and mitigating risks. The practice did not always act on appropriate and accurate information. Staff did not use data to monitor and improve performance. Performance information was not used to hold staff and management to account. Where complaints or significant learning events had highlighted areas where improvements could be made by staff members, we saw no evidence this had been monitored. The practice does not have an active patient participation group. It goes on. Inadequate. So the deputy mayor, a senior politician with a portfolio that includes health and well-being and all of that, seen as an in-council expert, is Dr. Zahid Chauhan. This is the Care Quality Commission's reporting to the practice that he owns. He's hidden away from. You've seen it on the webpage. I'll show you again. So there's no ambiguity. It's not me doing something. Here you go. I'm refreshing this page. It shows the GP managing partner, male Dr. T. Chauhan. You've got to press start to get to Dr. Zahid Chauhan. But this is the team. Ordinarily, you just press meet the team, and these are all the names of the team on the web page. But Dr. Zahid Chauhan, Jim McMahon's mate, Amanda Chadderton's sidekick, is hidden on this page. You've got to go looking for it. You've got to press start, and then you find it here. What's more damning is the silence from the MP Jim McMahon, who is allowing. Why is he silent? Quick to claim I'd done this and I'd done that when you were just making it up, weren't you, Jim? Quick to turn up to a mosque to nibble some samosas. And here we are, people of Royton's lives put at risk, and you're nowhere to be seen. Could it be, Jim? Could it be because of this? Because the hamster-cheeked samosa nibbler is reliant upon Dr. Zahid Chauhan and his networks to supply him with a significant element of his bloc Muslim vote that keeps him in power. Where's Jenny Harrison? Oh, she's been kicked out. No, she's not. She's on the bloody board of something. I'll show you in a minute. And why did the Oldham Times not make any reference to any of this? You ready for more? I wrote this some time ago. The Rise of the Cartels. Yeah, it's to do with Sean Fielding, Arood Shah, her dodgy declarations. Remember her dodgy declarations of the ice cream parlour that she owned and didn't own, and then backdated her resignation? All exposed. All that corruption was exposed. The Mushtaq and his new soccer centre, dodgy land sale to the Mushtaq brothers, all exposed. Abdul Jabbar, his arrangement of selling a big plot of land for a penny to a mosque after the council spent, what, 20-odd thousand pounds, all exposed, including how he launched his re-election campaign next to a convicted sex offender, former chair of Oldham Central Mosque, all exposed. And I went on to Dr. Zahid Chauhan. And specifically to Dr. Zahid Chauhan, I exposed how he had purchased the former Royton Youth Centre. The council had first of all put it out to tender for closed bids. When the bids came in, the council changed its mind for whatever reason. You'll have to decide for yourselves. Was it because Dr. Zahid Chauhan's bid wasn't the highest? They abandoned, you can see the word there, they abandoned the decision and then decided to put it out to auction. So they put it out to auction. At auction, the facility was duly bought by Dr. Chauhan. Once it started redeveloping, it fell apart. You've seen the millions spent on it, millions of public money spent on it. State-of-the-art facility. At the time, I exposed how he was a director of Oldham Care and Support Limited. Oldham Care and Support Limited, I'll get to in a minute. But here, in terms of falling apart, let me show you something. So there's no ambiguity. Oldham GP surgery plans redrawn. Charlotte Green at the time clearly wasn't aware who she was defending. Dr. Zahid Chauhan, who is also a council and cabinet member for health and well-being, has submitted updated plans to the council for the planning relocation of Royton Medical Centre. So there's no ambiguity of Dr. Zahid Chauhan's links to Royton Medical Centre. If anyone was in doubt, you just got to go looking. 22nd of November 2018. You can see that. Oldham Care and Support Limited. Millions of pounds of public money go through it. Look, Barbara Brownridge is a director. I don't know who Butterworth is. Carl Richard Dean. Louis Hamblett, the Lib Dem councillor. Jennifer Harrison. This is interesting. So did Jenny Harrison not get voted out? Well, if she got voted out, she is... or is she the mayor now? I can't keep up. But you can see Jenny Harrison is the... No, Jenny Harrison is the Alexander Council, isn't she? But there you go. Jenny Harrison is on this. Naila Ibrahim, who's been kicked out of Glodick to Werneth because Arood Shah wants that seat. Paul Entwistle resigned, you can see. Ginny Alexander resigned. Marie Bashforth resigned. Stephen Bashforth resigned. Dr. Chauhan was resigned after we exposed him, resigned on the 30th of June 2022. So we sold Dr. Chauhan some land in a dodgy manner. He gets the money to build himself a state-of-the-art medical centre. That medical centre is putting the lives of people at risk. And Amanda Chadderton, the leader of Oldham Council, and Royton Councillor Jim McMahon, the MP for Royton, remained silent, refused to condemn what happened, refuse or are failing to reassure members of the public that they will do whatever is necessary to make sure that the people of our town are kept safe. My name is Raj Amir. These are Recusant 9 transmissions. They end in a couple of weeks. I think these are extra, these emergency ones. But I've got 6 left to do, which will take us up to Christmas. And if I'm pissed off, I am under a lot of stress as well. I'm in court on Thursday. To do with that case I can't talk about, but I'm in court on Thursday. I'm facing trial. I've faced imprisonment. These people have tried to kill me. They've attacked members of my family. And I ask myself, was this worth it?
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.